out-of-body experience.
Welcome to the Brothers of Wrestling podcast.
Welcome back to the Brothers of Wrestling podcast with your host, Logan, and unfortunately, it is just me again this time around for your Clash and Italy recap show. Unfortunately, Hayden had to work and was not able to find free time enough to be able to do this when I had free time. So it's just me for today, but we still have Hayden's notes. He sent me a text that I will be reading off periodically throughout the episode with his notes and thoughts about the show as we recap Clash in Italy 2026. I thought initial just big picture thoughts of the show. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I thought it was fine. I thought it definitely didn't live up to the hype that I expected it to, considering how big and how loaded the card was on paper. I mean, you had matches like Cody and Gunther and Rhea and Jade and Tribal Combat and Oba Brock. I mean, these are legendary names that are on this card, and you get a pay-per-view that was good. The crowd was hot. I liked the crowd. The Italian crowd, they were insanely hot the whole show. They were singing all the songs. They were going crazy. They were popping at all the big stuff. It was a cool venue. It was a cool atmosphere. But the actual the actual matches, they were good. They were good matches. It was a good card. It wasn't anything spectacular. It didn't blow my socks off. It didn't make me go, wow, that was the best card of the year. I think obviously the most recent AEW pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, was probably the best card of the year so far. But this card was good. It was a good card. So let's get into it. You kick off the show with the WWE Championship match. Cody Rhodes defends against Gunther. And going into this, me and Hayden on the prediction show, we thought maybe there'd be some shenanigans, and we'll get to that in a minute with how the match ended and everything. And I guess you could technically call that shenanigans. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll get to that. But the match itself, pretty good. I'm a big fan of Gunther. If you've been around the podcast for a while, you know I'm a big fan of Gunther. I love me some Gunther. Love me some Ring General. I think he's maybe the most complete wrestler in the company. He's just on a different level when it comes to wrestling in the ring. So when he gets matched up with a guy like Cody Rhodes, who is also a pretty decent wrestler, now I know Hayden would argue that Cody Rhodes isn't that good of a wrestler, but hey, that's his opinion. I think this match had the potential to be way better than it was. And I'm not saying it was a horrible match. It was probably one of the better matches of the night, in my opinion. It was like Gunther, he put up some good momentum, and then Cody got the crowd involved, and Cody took some nice shots with the chops to the chest. And then you had a couple of crossroads connect from Cody that took Gunther down. A couple of sleeper hold reversals was pretty cool. But in the end, the match finishes with a crossroads to Gunther, and then he rolls to the side of the ring, close to the bottom rope, that with the facing the side of the entrance ramp, so that side of the ring. He rolls to the bottom rope, and Cody covers him off of the crossroads, and the pin goes off, but it just kind of felt a little weird. I don't know if it was like the ref counts the 3, but it almost felt like he was trying to not count the 3. It almost felt like Gunther was supposed to kick out and he didn't. Now we do get a different camera angle later on. We find out that Gunther's leg, his right leg, was underneath the ropes before the referee started his count. So the referee in wrestling, if your leg is underneath the ropes, the referee can't start the count because all your body's not in the ring. So it's not a technical rope break because he hadn't started the count yet. He put his leg underneath before, but then his leg comes out as the ref goes to count the 3, and he counts it, and Gunther gets pinned. So it almost felt a little awkward. It felt a little like that wasn't supposed to happen. Maybe Gunther was supposed to kick out, or maybe he was supposed to put his leg on the rope, or maybe the referee was supposed to see that his leg was underneath and not count at all, but he just missed it. I'm not sure. It just felt a little off to me. It didn't feel like, oh my God, Cody just beat Gunther because he hit a couple crossroads and he had this momentous victory. It didn't feel like, it didn't give me the satisfaction that I was expecting from Cody beating Gunther. And I guess you could count that as shenanigans. It didn't feel legitimate. I don't know if this is going to mean that Gunther is going to be able to wiggle his way into a rematch. I don't know if that means a Saturday Night's Main Event match or something at Crown Jewel, or not Crown Jewel, at Night of Champions, I think is the when they do the King of the Ring finale. I think that's what happens. So maybe that he does it there. I don't know. Maybe there's got to be something that is a rematch, because it didn't seem like it was a clean finish, even though it technically was. It didn't seem like it was a clean finish to me. It just felt a little awkward. It felt a little unplanned, basically, the way that match ended. Hade's thoughts on the match were he thought it was a so-so match. He did like the splash. He refers to it like splashing cold water on a hot card. We know how Hade feels about Cody Rhodes, and he doesn't really get too hyped about anything that Cody does. He thinks he's overrated. He thinks he's a douche. He thinks he's a little dickish. And so anything that Cody does, Hade's not going to get super hyped about. And he also doesn't like Gunther either that much, but he tolerates Gunther more than he does Cody. And he didn't care for the finish, just like I didn't. And then Cody also, he didn't think looked very good. So he thought it was just a so-so match. He thought it was a fine match. It was whatever. And Cody winning. But he also didn't like the finish, which I just talked about. So I don't know. I haven't talked to him. He just sent me the text. I haven't actually spoken to him. So when I finally speak to Hade, I'll have to ask him if he thought felt weird. The finish felt weird. Then we move on to the WWE Women's Championship match. I thought the structuring of the match, like the way that they had the opening match being Cody and Gunther, and then they go right to Rhea and Jade. Maybe you want to cover up Jade a little bit by putting her second on the card, not having her in such a big moment like second to main or something like that, or opener. I don't know. It just felt a little weird that you'd have Rhea Ripley be in the second match of the night. But we have Rhea Ripley defending the WWE Women's Championship against Jade Cargill. It was fine. Rhea was good. Jade did her thing. I mean, the problem with Jade, and it's not a problem, it's not her fault. She just doesn't have a lot of in-ring experience. She doesn't wrestle a lot because I think they see her as more of an attraction because she's such a physical specimen. She's such a unique look in the company that I think they see her as more of a attraction type of character, type of gimmick, than a workhorse wrestler like an Io Sky or a Bayley or a Lyra or even Rhea. I think they see her differently, so they don't have her wrestle as much, and that hurts her because she also didn't wrestle that much in AEW. I know she was the TNT or TBS champion, whatever it was, the women's version. I think it was the TBS champion for a long time, and she wrestled a decent amount there, but she still didn't wrestle like all that much in AEW. So when she comes to WWE, she's super green. She's not as green as other people have been, but she just doesn't have a lot of in-ring experience. And a lot of her matches end up being kind of clunkers because of that lack of experience. And you got to give credit to the people that she's in the ring with for carrying her through matches sometimes. Not all the time, but through some matches. And I'm not saying that Rhea carried her through this match, but the Jade's matches never end up being world beater type of matches. And I'm not expecting that from Jade. But I do expect that from Rhea. And so Rhea and Jade is kind of like an oil and water situation. They don't really mix. They don't really have that great of in-ring chemistry. They don't really have that great of on-the-mic chemistry. I'm hoping that they're done. Jade and her group, Michin and B-Fab, which we'll talk about in a second, they can go on and fight Charlotte and Alexa. And then Rhea can go off and do her next challenger, whoever that may be. So I think it's a good way to put it down. Rhea ends up winning the match, and after we get some interference, so first off, Michin and B-Fab come out, and B-Fab actually puts Jade's foot on the bottom rope to stop a pinfall from Rhea. I think it was after a riptide. She might have hit a riptide. I can't remember exactly. But B-Fab puts Jade's foot on the rope, breaks the count, and then we get Charlotte Flair showing up. She does a crossbody onto both Michin and B-Fab from off of the ring barrier, the fan barrier, and takes them out. And then Rhea gets back in the ring. She had gotten out of the ring to talk or to yell at Michin and B-Fab and almost fight them. She gets back in the ring. She gets hit with a with a jaded by Jade covered, but she had rolled to the other side of the bottom rope before she got covered, and then she gets covered, and Charlotte Flair pulls Rhea's foot onto the ropes to give a little one back to Jade. So now you have both people getting interfered. Then Charlotte ends up taking out Michin and B-Fab. Rhea ends up hitting Jade with a Riptide and winning the match. So Rhea Ripley retains the Women's Championship. And like I said, I hope that in the end we can be done with Jade and Rhea. It just didn't work. It was fine. It's whatever. It's two physical specimen in the ring against each other. It's like a dream type of situation. But now we've seen it, and now we can move on to Rhea getting some other match. I don't know who she would go with. There's not really a ton of top tier women on SmackDown in the main event scene, so we'll see where she goes. But I'm kind of hoping that Jade and Michin and B-Fab can go off on their own. They can go fight Charlotte and Alexa and have that rivalry and go off there, and we can maybe move Rhea on to something else. Hade's thoughts on the match were he thought it was a fine match, but it was nothing really special, and he liked the Rhea and Flair dynamic, and I also like that too. I like, because Hade's been a proponent of a possible Charlotte Flair Rhea championship match where maybe Charlotte turns heel on Alexa at some point and then challenges Rhea, or maybe we get a Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley match at some point down the line. He's been on that kind of path for the past couple of episodes of the podcast. So we'll see if that actually happens, if his predictions end up coming true. But he thought it was a fine match. And like I said, it was good. It was a regular Jade Cargill match, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that's what she kind of does, no matter who's in the ring against her. It's just kind of what she does, and it's got a place. It's just not going to be like, oh my God, this is the greatest match of all time. It's not going to be like that. Then we move to maybe the most anticipated match of the entire night, and that was Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi Part 2, the rematch. I like the hype package that they had before. WWE, one thing that WWE will never do bad is a video package. A hype package, a video package, whatever it may be, they kill the video packages. They've been doing it for 30 years. They kill video packages. Absolutely destroy them. They do so well, and this one was no different. This one was fantastic. The Oba Brock video package before the match was amazing. So Brock Lesnar comes out first. The crowd's going crazy. They're singing a song, even though he has no words. They're kind of doing they're singing to the beat basically of his song. And then we get the lights come down. Obafemi comes out. The ruler arrives, and the crowd's doing the Oba walk. They're hitting the Oba. They're going crazy. The crowd's loving it. They're going super loud right now. Like, this is the loudest they've been in the night. They're going super crazy. And then we get the match. We get the big intros. Paul Heyman does the intro for Brock, and then we get the intro for Oba. And as Oba's taking off his little necklace thing that he has, Brock Lesnar attacks him, and the bell rings, and we get 4 F5s onto Obafemi, just like he did on Raw. But this time, Brock Lesnar covers Oba. Oba kicks out. This is perfect. I got a little bit worried. I will admit, I got a little bit worried when Brock attacked Oba and hit him with those F5s early on. I thought they were going to do a squash, like they did with Brock at WrestleMania. I thought maybe they would do a squash. I'm just going to admit, I thought they were going to do a squash. But then when Oba kicked out, I was like, okay, good. We're actually going to get a decent match, or potentially decent match. So then Brock Lesnar can't believe it. They go and they go. Brock Lesnar hits the Kimura on Obafemi, which I thought was a really nice touch, because Obafemi's kind of built this mystique about him since he's been on the main roster, where he's this untouchable, unbeatable, unstoppable monster, and that's a good character. But the Obafemi from the main roster and the Obafemi from NXT are kind of different people. Now, they're down to their core, they're the same person, because they're still this dominant, imposing beast of a man. But in NXT, Obafemi was fighting guys like Ethan Page and Javon Evans and Trick Williams and Ricky Saints, and these guys were giving him hard times. They were putting the work to Obafemi. He was not dominating every single person in 5 seconds. Obafemi was going decent 10, 15-minute matches, 20-minute matches down in NXT against these smaller guys, and no disrespect to these guys like Javon Evans. I love those guys, but they're not Brock Lesnar. So if those guys are putting work to Obafemi, he hasn't really seen that on the main roster. They've kind of built this aura around Oba, which is good. Oba needed this type of aura, but they've kind of built this aura around Oba where he's untouchable. You can't hurt this man. He just keeps, he can't be touched. He's too dominant. He can't, every time you try to hurt him, he's going to hurt you more. And we thought that maybe we'd get that at WrestleMania, but I think we all kind of predicted that Oba was going to squash him because that would be such a shock, and it was. And then seeing Brock Lesnar put the Kimura on Obafemi and actually hurt Obafemi was perfect. I don't want to see any of these people. I know there's probably people out there that are overreacting. I haven't seen much of the online. I've tried to stay off of Twitter so I didn't get spoiled or anything while I was watching the show. And I haven't seen any of the IWC comments if they're mad that Brock Lesnar won or if they're mad about how the match happened. I haven't seen. I'll check that after I get done recording this, but I don't know if anybody's upset that Obafemi looked like he was beaten in this match, which he was. Brock Lesnar wins the match. So Brock Lesnar puts the Kimura on him, and he actually hurts Oba. He actually torques on the arm and starts to wear it down, and that's a good thing. This is a good thing that Obafemi loses. I'm a big Obafemi guy. I don't know if people realize how big of an... I'm a huge Obafemi fan. I think Obafemi can go to the moon. Even further, I think he can go to Mars with the potential that he has. And it's just beginning. And this, even though it might seem like a bad thing because, oh no, Obafemi lost, Brock Lesnar, how can he do this? Triple H doesn't know what he's doing. What is he booking? Why would he book a guy that's retired to beat a guy like Oba? They killed Oba's momentum. No, this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing for Obafemi. As weird as it may seem right now, because we're still in the early stages of what just happened, this is a good thing for Obafemi. Him losing to Brock is a good thing. Because think about the moment when they have the rubber match. They're going to have a third match. They're 1-1. You don't just end a rivalry 1-1. They're going to have a third match. And what better way to have that third match than in Minnesota, Brock Lesnar's hometown, at SummerSlam, 2-night main event match caliber thing? And you have Obafemi go over on Brock and officially put an end to the beast? Think about that. People overreact too quickly to things all the time in wrestling and in everything, in everyday life as well, but especially in wrestling. They overreact too quickly, and then they also don't see the bigger picture. They're very, very nearsighted. They only ever think about the reaction, the instant reaction of, oh my God, Brock Lesnar just beat Obafemi. What is Triple H doing? He doesn't know how to book a beast. What is he doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. That is not the right opinion. The right opinion is this was what was supposed to happen. Now, if it would have been a complete squash, like I was afraid that it was going to be happening at the beginning of the match, where Brock Lesnar completely destroys Oba with 4 or 5 F5s and then pins him in a minute or 2 minutes, then that would be bad for Oba. But because Oba fought, Oba had momentum. Oba got put through the announcer's table with an F5 and then stood up like it was nothing and got back in the ring and had some more offense. This was only good. There was no bad in what happened to Oba. Not in my opinion. There was no bad in what happened to Oba. Even the loss does not affect Obafemi. This does not kill his momentum. This does not hurt him at all, because think about the payoff. The payoff of Obafemi finally besting the beast at SummerSlam. On either one of the nights, I guess it doesn't really matter which night it is, but one of the nights in Minnesota, Brock Lesnar's hometown, he's going to have the whole crowd behind him. And Obafemi ends the beast right there on the big stage. I mean, come on. Think about the pop. Think about the momentum. And then you carry that onto whatever Oba goes on to do next. I mean, he can't really win the King of the Ring, I guess, because King of the Ring's happening earlier than SummerSlam. So, I mean, I guess you could put Oba in the King of the Ring and maybe have Brock Lesnar cost him the King of the Ring. That could be kind of cool. But, I don't know. It doesn't really feel right for Oba. Because if you're going to have Oba in the King of the Ring, you're probably going to have him win it. So, I think you keep building Oba and Brock, and then you build a SummerSlam, and you get to SummerSlam where Oba Femi finally goes over. He wins the rivalry. He wins the series 2-1, and then you move on from Oba going somewhere else, and Brock either retires official or does whatever Brock wants to do. So, as many people might be overreacting this, I think it is actually a good thing that Oba Femi lost this match. Now, Hayes' thoughts on this match, he thought it was a good way to protect Oba, which I agree. Oba did not look weak at all in this match. He's not super happy that he lost because Hayes' an Oba guy. He likes Oba. He also likes Brock a lot, though. But at least he was protected. So Hayes is basically all about the protection of Oba, which I am too, and I think he was perfectly protected. Oba looked unbelievably strong. He looked superhuman in this match, and he still lost. That's a good thing. It may not seem like it right now because we're so close to it. It just happened. But it's a good thing. The only way this turns bad is if they don't build the momentum the right way headed to SummerSlam. If they drop the ball with Oba post Brock's this loss, post losing to Brock, then that ends up being a bad thing. Then we can look back, but that's 2020 vision. That's hindsight. We don't have that just yet. We're still super close to it. We're still super fresh with it. So once we get too far down the road, then we can look back and say, oh yeah, he was successful. This was a good thing that Oba lost. Or we can say, oh man, they really killed Oba's momentum with that Brock loss. They should have never lost to Brock there. We can go either way, but right now it's a good thing. And I will stand by that. Then we go to the Intercontinental Championship match, the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Becky Lynch defends against Sol Ruca. And you could tell that Sol still is a little bit nervous on the big stage, but that's understandable. She literally is like wrestling her 4th year ever. She started a couple of years ago in NXT. She came from the NIL program from Oregon. She was like a track athlete or something, or maybe volleyball, something like that. And she comes in, she never wrestled before. She starts wrestling. She becomes instantly popular. She becomes instantly like skyrocketed to the stars. And within a couple of years, she's in the main roster. And now she's wrestling Becky Lynch at a pay-per-view not King of the Ring, at Clash in Italy. So there was still a little bit of nerves, you can obviously tell with Sol, but she'll get over that as she wrestles more and more in front of these huge crowds and everything, and on TV like this, she'll get used to it. But still, it was a great match. I'm not discrediting the match because Sol had a little bit of nerves. Everybody's gonna have nerves. I'd have nerves. You'd have nerves. Everybody would have nerves if they were wrestling like that on the big stage. So it was still a fantastic match. And they did continue the story with Becky and Jessica Carr. On the preview show, I had pitched an idea where Jessica and Becky, it leads to some sort of wrestling match between Becky and Jessica Carr, because Jessica's kind of been like the foil to Becky so far, even as the referee. And they kind of further that a little bit. Becky and Jessica got up and close and personal with each other. They were there was a little bit of pointing and pushing and stuff like that. But in the end, Sol Ruca hits a soul snatcher on Becky and wins the Intercontinental Championship. It's the right move. I predicted it in the preview show. Both me and Hayes said Sol Ruca was going to win this match, and we were right. Sol Ruca wins. She gets the Intercontinental Championship. Is it a little too early for Sol? No, I don't think so. Sometimes when you've got a young, fresh face, an up-and-coming star in the company, you give them a title, and it propels them into higher heights than they would have gotten without the title. So giving let Sol have the title and run with it. Let her see what she can do. Let her wrestle Bayley. Let her wrestle Lyra. Let her wrestle whoever in the mid-card women's division, and let her get some more experience wrestling on Monday Night Raw and wrestling on smaller pay-per-views and stuff like that, Saturday Night's Main Events, things like that. Let her have a decent 4, 5, 6 month title reign with the Intercontinental Championship, because Becky, this is what Becky does. Becky builds up. She doesn't need titles anymore. Becky has reached a bulletproof territory, like Seth Rollins, like Roman Reigns, like I'd arguably say Gunther. There's certain people that when you reach a certain point, you become bulletproof. And what I mean by bulletproof is losing does not affect you. If Seth Rollins loses a big-time match, he's fine. If Roman Reigns loses a big-time match, he's fine. If Becky Lynch loses a big-time match, loses a championship, she's gonna be fine. She's bulletproof at this point. Charlotte Flair is the same way. Charlotte Flair's Rhea Ripley has reached bulletproof territory. So Becky, if they follow up with this Jessica Carr thing, which I don't know if they will, maybe they're just kind of like teasing it and they'll never actually do it. I know Jessica Carr has wrestled before and she's kind of like trained and stuff, but I don't know if they'll actually give her a chance to wrestle Becky Lynch on a Raw or on a Saturday Night's Main Event or something, whatever they do. I don't know what other pay-per-view they would have. Maybe King and Queen of the Ring, I guess, possibly something like that, or Night of Champions. I don't think they have a King of the Ring pay-per-view because they're going to do the stuff on Raw. Maybe they do it on Night of Champions. Who knows? But whatever they do, I think they could do a match between the two. But I think Becky now goes and does something else. I don't think she challenges Soul for a rematch. And unless they do something on Raw where they have like a quick rematch and Soul beats her again, that could be something. But for the most part, I think Soul needs to go off on her own now. She's beaten Becky. Becky can't beat Soul. And maybe now Becky goes on this like crazy path where she can only blame Jessica. And that's how we get to that. Or who knows, maybe Becky just goes and does something else. But Soul now can go off on her own. She can wrestle anybody else. Roxanne Perez even could be a nice challenger for her. And we'll see where she goes. But I think giving Soul the title is the right spot. So Hate's thoughts on the match. He thought it was the best match of the night, which I also agree with. I think it was a great match. He loved the reversals in the storytelling, and the spot into the Soul Snatcher was great. So I also agree that the spot where they're in the corner and Becky goes for the manhandle slam. She like slips out of Soul slips out of it, reverses into onto the ropes, and then does the Soul Snatcher. It's pretty cool ending to it. And then we get the pin, and Soul moves on as the champion. So something that I want to talk about before we get to Tribal Combat is the thoughts of Jacob Fatu winning the match and being the tribal chief. I had predicted in the preview, my official prediction was Roman Reigns winning, which I ended up getting correct. But I had pitched an idea where we get a tyrannical rule as tribal chief from Jacob Fatu. He wins the championship and then he becomes this tyrannical leader where he's the complete opposite of what Roman Reigns is. At this point in Roman Reigns' career or his time as the tribal chief, he has become this level-headed, wise leader who knows what's best for the family. And he's going to do what's best for that family. But Jacob Fatu is more like Roman Reigns at the beginning of the tribal chief run, where he's young, he's hungry, he's unruly, he's unpredictable, he's angry. And Jacob Fatu winning the championship and being that, reverting back to that first era, that early era of tribal chief Roman Reigns, that is just, you can't predict what's going to happen next, I think would have been a cool idea. But we saw the match, Tribal Combat goes down, and Roman Reigns ends up winning the match. It was a good match. It was a good Tribal Combat match. There wasn't a ton of crazy, hardcore, quote-unquote spots. There was a spot where Roman speared Jacob through the barricade and took out 2 security guards, which I don't know if was supposed to happen or if they just didn't get out of the way in time. It kind of seemed like it was supposed to happen because nobody like freaked out that they were underneath the padding. They kind of got squished underneath the padding as they got speared through. So I'm assuming it was supposed to happen, but it just looked kind of weird as it did happen. So that was a kind of cool spot. We had Roman Reigns pull out a what do you call it? Why am I blanking on the name of it? A toolbox. Thank you for finally coming to my head. A toolbox, and he smashed it on Jacob's hand, the right hand that he uses to lock in the Tongan death grip. He smashed it on the hand. That was a cool spot. And then we get to the table spot, which is the end of the match. So the table spot, I've never seen a WWE table just, I don't even know how to describe it. It just like it exploded. It disintegrated even. It's hard to explain. Just go, if you haven't seen the spot that I'm talking about. It's at the very end of the match. Jacob Fatu ends up walking into the corner because he had gotten like smashed on the head a couple times. And then Roman hits a spear through the table. And when they go through the table, it's the craziest spot I've seen in a while. not because of how extreme it was, but because of the way the table reacts when they go through it. Usually when people get speared through a table in the corner, the table kind of breaks in half, clean break, and then the top half kind of like falls on top of the guys on their back, on the guy that's spearing the person on its back, and the other part of the table falls underneath. That's usually how a table spot goes. It breaks, it's a clean break, and they go through it like that. This table just exploded into like a billion pieces. It was weird. I don't know if it was the way that Jacob went through it with Roman pushing him through. It was really weird. I've never seen I haven't seen a table explode like that since the Dudleys. I mean, it was crazy. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting way to break a table, I guess. Usually the tables break clean in half. This one did not. This one just exploded. So Roman ends up winning the match and staying the tribal chief, staying the world heavyweight champion. And then after the match, Jimmy and Jay come down to the ring. Jay's got the Ulafala in his hand, and he ends up giving the Ulafala to Roman, crowning him still the tribal chief. He puts it on him. He bestows it upon him. And then Jacob is kind of in the corner watching all this, sitting in the corner watching this. And Roman's looking at him, telling him that he's going to have to acknowledge it because this is what the rules were for tribal combat. Whoever lost would have to not only lose the tribal chief moniker, like Roman would lose the tribal chief moniker, but they would have to acknowledge the other person. And now that Jacob lost, he's going to have to acknowledge Roman Reigns. So we get to Roman and the Usos leaving the ring, and Michael Cole's on commentary saying, we'll see on Monday Night Raw, Jacob Fatu is going to acknowledge Roman Reigns. So they're going to have some sort of segment where Jacob comes out, Roman and the Usos are out there, and Jacob's going to have to acknowledge Roman Reigns. But the interesting part about all of this was Solo, Talatonga, and Tamatonga showed up in the crowd at the end of the match as Jacob and the Usos and Roman were leaving. And yes, Jacob left with Roman and the Usos. So he's now a part of their, not group. He's not part of the bloodline. It's not the bloodline again, but he's now with them because he's got to acknowledge them. So he's got to acknowledge Roman. But Solo and the Tongans and the MFTs came down to the crowd area, and they were standing there, and Roman said he's got something for him, meaning talking about Solo. He finished with Jacob, now he's got something for Solo. And I got to thinking, are we building not necessarily the bloodline back up, but obviously you can see the cracks in the MFTs. They've been teasing this Tamatonga thing for months now, which Triple H loves a long tease. But they've been teasing this Tamatonga thing for a while now. Shinsuke shows up every single SmackDown and has some sort of conversation with Tamatonga. So they've been teasing the MFTs kind of breaking up, I guess. I mean, you fired JC Mateo. You fired Tongaloa. So that's two members of the MFTs gone already. Tamatonga seems like he's going to split and do something with Shinsuke or just go off on his own. I have no idea. What happens to Talatonga, I have no idea. But what I think could happen is Roman Reigns brings Solo Sikoa back to the family. Solo Sikoa's been off on his own, doing his own thing with his own MFT thing and the Bloodline 2.0, everything like that, since the Bloodline ended. And since he lost Tribal Combat. So I think it would be good to get Solo as a face. I've been wanting Solo Sikoa to be a good guy for a long time. He's just got this natural charisma. He's got this natural personality. He's a goofy guy. He's a funny guy. He's got that Uso personality. He's the younger brother of Jimmy and Jay. He's got that Uso charisma, that Uso personality. He can be like the Jimmy where he's funny. He can be Jay, funny and aggressive and still like a cool kind of guy to hang out with. Solo can be that, but he's never really gotten to experience that or to show that off because he's been a silent enforcer when he was in the Bloodline, and then he's been this kind of like boy king type of weird heel since leaving the Bloodline and doing the MFT thing. And now he's like a mob boss when he's doing the MFT stuff. So he's never really gotten to show that side of his personality. He shows it sometimes. He's had moments, obviously. The camera's caught some funny moments from Solo, and that's what shined in his personality. That's what's made me want him to be a face. So I think if Roman Reigns can beat Solo into submission and make him come back to the bloodline, make him come back to the family, not the bloodline, make him come back to the family, and make him acknowledge Roman and have him come back, I think you could build yourself quite the War Games team. You got Roman, you got the Usos, you got Jacob, you got Solo. That's 5. That's 5 guys right there. I don't know who they would fight, but that's 5 guys right there. War Games team, perfect. Perfect War Games team. I think that is the exact way they should go, but Roman's got to beat Solo into submission first. Kind of like he did Jay back in the day, back in 2020, when it all started. And kind of like what he's just done to Jacob, where he's beaten Jacob twice now. He's beaten him into submission. Jacob's got to acknowledge him. Jacob's got to fall in line. So I think that's what they're going to do. I think that'd be pretty awesome. Hayden's thoughts on the Tribal Combat match: he thought it was good, not great. He liked the ending and the big spear spots, which one of them obviously was the table spot that we talked about. But he thought that it never really got into second gear, which I can see why he thinks that way. I definitely can see how he's thinking that it never really got off of that first gear and got into motion, really. I would think that it was better than good. I think it was a pretty decent match. There was some really cool moments. They fought all around the arena. They fought in the stairs and everything, on the stairs and stuff. And so it was pretty cool, and the big spear spots were awesome. But I can definitely see why Hay thinks that it never got out of first gear, it never got into second gear, never really got sped up and got moving. It was kind of always the same paced type of thing the whole time. There was never really that huge drama that you want to see from the match. And his overall thoughts on the card were, on the Clash in Italy card, were he thinks that it was not really as good as it was on paper. There were some bright spots, but it certainly was not landscape changing by any means. So those are Hayden's final thoughts on the card. And if you're curious, why don't you follow us on Brothers of Wrestling on Facebook, and you can see these ratings and all the live reactions for yourself. Hayden has gone down and given his BOW match ratings for Clash in Italy, and I'll go through them right here. So we have the first match of the night, Gunther and Cody Rhodes. Hayden gives that a 4.5 out of 10, a 4.5. Then you've got the Women's Championship, Rhea and Jade. That is a 6.75. You've got Brock and Oba, 7.5. Women's Intercontinental Championship, Becky Lynch and Sol Ruka, 8. And the World Heavyweight Championship Tribal Combat, Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu, is a 7.75. So the overall score rating for Clash in Italy, BOW show rating, 6.75. And again, you can follow us on Facebook, Brothers Wrestling, if you want to see that for yourself. That is all up there. Also follow us on Twitter. I thought it was a pretty good card. It was good. Didn't blow me away, but there was some good stuff. I liked it. A lack of Danhausen. He was in there was a scary movie commercial they did, and Danhausen was in that. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of Danhausen. I wish there was more, but I get he wasn't supposed to be on the card, so it's understandable. But overall, it was a fine card. I thought it was good. And I want to know what your thoughts were. Leave them down below in the comments here on Spotify and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, like I mentioned. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. We have a TikTok page, Brothers Wrestling. Everything is Brothers Wrestling. If you type in Brothers Wrestling, you should be able to find us on anything really, except for Instagram. We don't have an Instagram, but Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. YouTube, give us a subscribe, and follow us on Spotify so you don't miss out on any other reaction or previews or any other episodes that we may talk about in the future. But thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.